So the Abbey community has been studying Buddhist philosophy quite intensely for the last couple of weeks. And to take a break from the material, I went back to review my notes from the Lamrim teachings, the stages of the path to awakening from maybe 3-4 years ago that Venerable gave on the Gomchen Lamrim. And in that process, I found maybe an example of how the debate teachings, the Lamrim teachings, and my own practice might come together. So that's an example I'd like to offer up today. So we'll start with this statement that I think many of us hold as fact. Before Venerable came in, this statement, people who point out my faults are trying to harm me. Yeah, and some people here were already saying it's a mantra we all recite sometimes, maybe 101,000 or more times, that you just take as fact without questioning. Why? Because these people say things that I don't want to hear. When I hear them, it causes me mental pain or physical pain sometimes even. So clearly, people who point out my faults are trying to harm me. But suppose you move to a monastery, and suppose you ordain, and suppose one day your spiritual mentor comes along and tells you something like, oh, when you gave that talk and when you said da-da-da-da-da, you sounded quite arrogant and entitled. You might want to look at what's going on in your mind. And by the way, since you edit the videos, maybe you should just edit out that part yourself so that you will remember what I've told you. That's an example that happened to me. I'm sure you have your own, fill in the blank. And of course, yes, I will do as directed, but internally like, right? All kinds of stuff comes up. And if you hold to this statement dearly, people who point out my faults are trying to harm me, then it follows that your spiritual mentor, Venerable Children, is trying to harm me, right? Because why? She points out my faults. Yeah, that was a nice, big, clear example. And if you get stuck in this space, it's pretty miserable. Yeah, there you are debating with yourself, like, she used to be so kind and friendly and encouraging. Before I ordained, I wrote these emails to her. She would respond with such kindness. And then you move here and you ordain, and she points out your faults. Like, what? Why? Is it because I've become a bad person? Okay, so you can dig yourself into a nice little hole. So thankfully, here at the Abbey, we have a mentor-mentee system. So all of us, especially new in ordination, you will have a senior monastic that you can meet with to talk about your concerns. Yeah, so maybe you decide to meet your mentor and start to complain or consult with them. And so, you might share, Venerable said this, and your mentor, being older in ordination, wise and kind, might say something like this. Venerable Children is trying to help you because she points out your faults. And of course, you're going to say, okay, first of all, the reason is established. Yeah, Venerable Children is pointing out my faults. No doubt there. So we check the pervasion. When she points out my faults, is she trying to help me? No. Yeah, you will say the pervasion is opposite. Yeah, she points out my faults because she's not trying to help me. Right? Rawr! People who point out my faults are trying to harm me. Right? That's the thing we're hanging on to. So maybe your mentor tries again. She gives you a justification for this pervasion. It follows that Venerable Children is trying to help you when she points out your faults because she wants you to overcome your faults and attain full awakening. So, self-centered mind, reason is not established. Yeah, really? Venerable Children wants me to overcome my faults and attain full awakening? Right, I don't know about you, but all your authority issues can come up here, yeah? No, people in authority point out your faults. Why? Because they can. Yeah, they're on some kind of trip. Yeah, whenever you try and assert your autonomy, they just want to oppress you to show that they're in charge. So, fill in your own trip. Yeah, wants you to overcome your faults and attain awakening? Really? So you might sit there in that space, and then your kind mentor might continue. It follows that Venerable Children wants you to overcome your faults and attain full awakening because she is a qualified Mahayana spiritual mentor. So here's your mentor quoting scripture at you. Pause. Think. Or possibly, it follows that Venerable Children is a qualified Mahayana spiritual mentor because she has the qualities of a qualified Mahayana spiritual mentor listed in scripture. Yeah, that's the advice given in the teachings, right? Here's the list in scripture. Check. Right? Before you enter in a teacher-student relationship, check. All right? So here you have scripture to rely on, okay? So you can check. Here's what it says in the Lamrim, quoting from the Ornament of Mahayana Sutras by Maitreya. So it says, rely on a Mahayana teacher who is disciplined, serene, and thoroughly pacified. Right here, talking about the 3 higher trainings, someone who has ethical conduct, concentration, and wisdom. Someone who has good qualities surpassing those of the students, is energetic, has a wealth of scriptural knowledge, possesses loving concern, has thorough knowledge of reality and skill in instructing disciples, and has abandoned dispiritedness, here with regard to giving teachings. So, especially if you live with your teacher, you get to observe just this, right? Do they have these qualities? It's interesting. I think once when Venerable was giving this teaching in Singapore, someone was like, I have no clue what emptiness is really about. How would I even know if my teacher has realized emptiness or not? Right? So all these doubts can come up too. And back then I remember her telling this person, you study, right? Learn the Dharma and see if this person's behavior is in accord with the Dharma. But perhaps your quibbling mind might be like, okay, they have these qualities, but not a lot, not to a great degree. To which the Lamrim has an answer, the Tantra requested by Subahu. Since those who have all such good qualities are very rare in this age of strife, mantra practitioners should rely on an assistant, here the teacher, who has 1/2, 1/4, or 1/8 of these qualities. Right? Minimum requirement, okay, for your picky mind. So, all right, having checked with scripture, it follows that Venerable Children is a qualified Mahayana spiritual mentor. Why? Because she has at least 1/8 of all the qualities of a qualified Mahayana spiritual mentor listed in scripture. I accept. I live here, I checked it out. It's true. I don't know what 1/8 really means, but all right, some kind of minimum. So, all right, then based on that, you go backwards through the different assertions, right? So, okay, because Venerable is a qualified Mahayana spiritual mentor, right? She doesn't want your money. She doesn't want anything else from you except for you to overcome your faults and attain full awakening. I accept. So it follows that Venerable Children is helping you when she points out your faults. Why? Because she wants you to overcome your faults and attain full awakening. I accept. Then, in the Lamrim teachings, often Venerable points out that, after you work out your own stuff with your spiritual mentor, right? This is a relationship where you've checked the person's qualities. You know they have a good motivation. And when they tell you to do something that you don't want to do or something that you don't like to hear, then you need to check up, right? What's the resistance and what is it inside of you that you need to work with? Because based on that line of reasoning, this person is not going to ask you to do anything that harms you or others, right? Because they only want you to become awakened. And after you work that out with your teacher, all these emotional habits that come up, then the amazing thing is that you open it up to question how you've looked at other sentient beings as well, right? So here, the original statement that we're hanging on to, people who point out my faults are trying to harm me. Well, the spiritual mentor pointing out my faults was trying to help me. So does it follow that other people who are not the spiritual mentor, could they have been trying to help me when they pointed out my faults? Could it be that people who point out my faults are not trying to harm me? So anyhow, for me, I had some time to think about that, and at least in my experience, when I thought about specific instances, all the things that you have kept in your hard drive of all the times people have pointed out your faults, when I looked at those, I really think they were trying to help me. I just couldn't see it at the time. So, examples of, I had a high school teacher who came and told me I was very arrogant because he was holding all these reviews before a major exam and I didn't show up because I don't study well in a group. So he told me, you're very arrogant. The exams are coming, you need to show up. Right? And I really totally couldn't hear this person at all because of the arrogance. Right? I was like, I don't study well in a group. I study well alone. And by the way, I got straight A's. Go away. That kind of response. Looking back, I was like, wow, here is someone who was really trying to help. Or many times with my own mother or with friends, who sat you down and said, when you behave like this, it's really quite unkind and inconsiderate, or it's harming others. You're like, excuse me, why are you pointing these things out? They were trying to help. And I was also thinking about times where, say, people have exploded or, they say things to you that are shocking or, you might file them under abuse. And I was thinking that they don't actually fall in this category of people pointing out my faults. Because what I recall was they were saying things that were just so completely untrue. Yeah. It was more reflective of their own angry mind. You know, people yelling things at you like, you're completely worthless. That's not true. It's not one of my faults. You're just expressing your angry mind. Yeah. Or, yeah, yelling things like, are you a goody two-shoes or whatever. So that helped me to see like, yeah, those are situations where someone was pointing out horns on my head. Yeah. And I check, and there really aren't any. So let it go. Yeah. They're just expressing their own distress. Whereas when people point out faults that I do have, yes, I have a nose, and it's time to do something about it. So yeah, so that's just one little thought around how the internal debate and the lamrim in our practice could come together. I think I'm very, very grateful often for the way Venerable Children teach us about how to relate to a spiritual mentor, because she often emphasizes how we can use that relationship to really look at our faults and overcome them, and through that process actually transform the way we relate to all beings.